Hello and welcome to the very first update for Dundas Minerals as an ASX listed company. Now we listed in the 10th of November this year, and rest assured we've been extremely busy conducting our exploration activities both before and since listing, and it's my pleasure to take you through a presentation this morning. Now just opening the presentation, in terms of the battery materials thematic, most of you would be very familiar and up to date with what's happening, but probably less familiar to you might be the announcement in September this year of Bill Gates and Jeff Bezos entering the global search for battery materials. Now, this has, of course, come about because of the demand for these materials that's forecast in the next 10 to 20 years. And as we know in the screen on the left, the discovery, the drill out, the feasibility study and the permitting of new mineral deposits and battery materials mines does take quite a period of time. And it's all about what demand looks like between 10 and 20 years from now rather than today. The next slide here, we see some charts of demand, and many of you would have seen similar charts. On the left is the demand for battery materials such as nickel and copper for use in electric vehicles. You can see very stellar growth from 2021 onwards. And on the right is a similar chart forecasting the demand for these materials used in energy storage devices. And these are the devices that we're using to decarbonise our economy, the storage of wind energy, the storage of solar energy. And above this chart, some of you would be familiar with the statement in August last year when Elon Musk, the head of Tesla, hit the panic button in relation to a global supply of nickel and pleaded for the world's mining companies to produce more nickel. And that's certainly, at Dundas Minerals, we're excited about our search for nickel to add to this future demand for battery materials. Now, where are we looking? We're looking here in Western Australia in the Albany-Fraser origin, which is shown on the picture on the right. The origin is an extremely prospective area for many minerals, but of course including gold, copper and nickel, which is what we're searching for. Home to two world-class mines, the Tropicana mine, which is up to the north on this picture, and then more interesting for us is the Nova deposit. The Nova mine, which was discovered, was discovered by Sirius Resources back in 2012, and then subject to a takeover by Independence Group in 2015, $1.8 billion, and Independence Group still profitably runs this operation now. Dundas, we have secured a rather large tenement position in the Albany-Fraser origin, only a matter of 120 or 30 kilometres to the south west of Nova. And the origin, despite being heavily pegged, and you can see all the exploration tenements in the white here, is still extremely prospective for nickel, for gold, for other minerals discoveries. And there's many companies working in the area at the moment exploring. A close up on our tenements, there's the 11 licenses shaded in light green. We're just to the south east of the the town of Norseman, which is the start of the air highway running across the Nullarbor, and just to the north of the port city of Esperance. We have 11, as I said, 11 licenses. They're all 100% held by us. There's no royalty interest. There's no minority interest. The licenses are all located on Crown land, so we're not competing with pastoralists or other land users for access. And interestingly enough, there's been no exploration conducted within the tenements since the time prior to the Nova discovery. And the Nova discovery, a nickel discovery, I guess it's fair to say that the Albany-Fraser wasn't that well known for nickel before Nova, and predominantly gold was explored on our tenements previously. Now, just to close up, this is a magnetics image on the right of our tenements. You can see our tenements are white, and the areas that are shaded in white are tenements held by others surrounding us. And we've got some interesting neighbours. Looking to the west, we have Rio Tinto, which has two large tenement holdings. And looking to the east, Metal Hawk and Western Areas. Metal Hawk listed on the ASX in late 2020. And Western Areas is a nickel producer. So we'd assume they're exploring for nickel there. And to the south is Mount Ridley. And from their recent ASX announcements, we think they seem to be looking for rare earths in this area. Now, across the tenements itself, it's covered by a layer of sort of recent tertiary materials and sand or regolith, 3 to 5 metres of comers. There's very little outcropping bedrock at all, and there's been no real drilling into the underlying bedrock in this area. So there's great uncertainty about that, and it's been interpreted, the bedrock, as predominantly Proterozoic age, felsic sort of intrusives, but we really don't know, and we need to get in and start drilling some of these things. Now, the major vegetation is mallee. The photo on the left shows what the vegetation looked like, a Google Earth image from before 2019-20, and then to the right, what the vegetation looks like now after some bushfires came through in 1990-20. Now, what we can do, 2019-2020, what this has enabled us is far better access across the tenements than the previous explorers had, and we're using that to our advantage. Now, our exploration, it's all about initially the low-hanging fruit, and for us, it's drilling that's about to start in a couple of weeks at the Jumbuck and Kokoda deposits. Jumbuck is the first deposit we'll be drilling out. This is a nickel prospect, very interesting anomaly, 0.5% nickel at the bottom of a 22-metre, very shallow drill hole. We think the bedrock is a good 50 to 60, maybe even deeper in this area, and it hasn't been tested by previous drilling. Just to the south west of where the previous drilling was is an interesting electromagnetic conductor, and again, that's conducive or indicative of some sort of conductive body, and we'll be hoping to test as close as we can to that. And at Kokoda, this is a gold anomaly, so we'll be moving on to Kokoda after Jumbuck. It sits at the top of a very large trend of calcrete anomalism in gold. Again, the previous drilling very shallow in this area, so similar to Jumbuck, we'll be hoping to get drilling into the bedrock 130 to 150 metres. 2022 will give us the opportunity to test another couple of prospects that are equally as interesting as both Jumbuck and Kokoda, but at the moment, the tenements for those prospects, where those prospects sit, haven't been granted. We expect those tenements to be granted in the early part of 2022, and we'll be drilling terra firma, which is a prospect from way back in 1995. Very interesting again. 4 metres were drilled in at the bottom of a hole. The grade was 1.06 grams a tonne gold. Never been any follow-up, and the gold price back in 1995 was around $300 an ounce versus $1,800 an ounce today. So in that period of time, the prospect wasn't considered that interesting. And Mulga, over to the right, sits almost directly below Kokoda, and similar somewhat in nature. There's a large calcrete gold trend here marked in pink, and again, shallow drilling, a lot of anomalous samples over that area. So we're really keen to get in and drill that one as well. But the most exciting for us is something that we announced last week, 18th of November, was the Matilda South area. And this area is presenting itself now as a really interesting target for perhaps ultramafic rocks. But again, we need to drill, and this has come out of the recent AEM survey. And on the next slide, I'll just give you a little look at what's been modelled up for Matilda South. Now, our exploration strategy, it's fairly simple. At the top, we're looking for intrusive ultramafic rocks, the sort of Nova-style chondrolith. We'd love another Nova, of course. It's sort of a Pluton type deposit. And on the right, we see an image of what Nova looks like. And what's important from this slide is where Nova sits relative to the regolith or the cover. In our situation, this regolith here is about 30 metres in depth, and Nova, the deposit, the ore body, sort of starts around 150 metres at depth and goes all the way down to 450, sort of 400 metres down below. So you can see the drilling within our tenements has only just penetrated this light brown area at the top, and we've still got a very long way to go if we need to get down deep and search for a Nova type prospect. Also, we're looking for Tropicana gold type prospects, which are in the Archean or reworked Archean area, which is more likely to the northwest of our tenement areas. So how do you find these buried deposits without wasting a lot of huge amounts of money on random drilling? Well, you use a couple of tools. The first thing we do is we use SkyTem, and we've completed a SkyTem survey across the northern sections of our tenements. This is looking for deep conductive bodies. Sulfides are prospective for hosting nickel, platinum group elements, copper. The next tool we've used is ground gravity, and these are looking for dense bodies. And again, we've completed a ground gravity survey already across the entire tenement package, the first time ever. And these two tools are going to give us the initial indications of where to look for these bodies. And of course, finally, we need to get in and drill these bodies. There's no way of finding them without getting the drill rig going. So that's the next step that we're pursuing. The gravity survey, 4,000 stations. Each station was 0.5 kilometre apart on 1 kilometre lines. Now, what's come out of this is 4 really interesting areas. The most prospective, we believe, is the Matilda South area here, highlighted in yellow. But what also has come up is this terra firma area up to the northwest, which is where our gold prospect is. The Jumbuck prospect has come up very nicely as well on the gravity, and also an area called Northeast. Not a very inspiring name, but we'll rename that area, but that's come up as a very interesting gravity anomaly. Now, what we're going to do with these 4 areas is we're going to get the gravity crew back in there as quickly as we can, and we're going to tighten up the grid. So instead of 500 metre spacing stations, they'll be moved into 250 metre stations, and instead of on 1 kilometre lines, they'll be down to 0.5 kilometre lines. So this will enhance the modelling of these bodies under depth, and then perhaps we'll follow up with some ground DM, but certainly what we need to do is get in and drill test these bodies once the modelling has been enhanced. Now, in terms of initial modelling, the next slide here shows you what the Matilda South looks like in 3 dimensions. So on the right-hand side, and the thing to concentrate here is the light grey bodies going from the northwest to the southeast, and there's almost 2 of those in parallel. On the left shows where those bodies sit relative to our tenements in the south there. The yellow dashed lines represent these bodies to the right. And just note the different orientation. The north in top is in this screen here is almost to the left. Now, these bodies have been modelled. The top of these bodies about 135 metres deep. Now, what's interesting is that there is some previous drilling in this area by a company called Goldport way back in 2005, but it was extremely shallow air core drilling. The deepest hole is down to 60 odd metres, and they were obviously drawn to this area by a gravity anomaly. They would have had much coarser or less detailed gravity data. There was a little bit of anomalism for nickel and copper and some zinc and other metals when they did some drilling. They did recommend Goldport to further drill this area, but it simply never took place. And you can read more about, if you're interested in what their work was, we've got their old reports are on our website, and certainly a summary of that work is in our independent geologist report, which you can download with the prospectus. So very keen to get into Matilda South, but the first thing is that we need to get that gravity crew back. Now, the SkyTem survey I talked about, this image here, shows the areas that have come up as being interesting on the SkyTem. And what you're looking for here in SkyTem is these rich, dark red features, but also subtle anomalies that stick out. And you can see Jumbuck has come up as well, Kokoda, and the northeast area also. Now, the image to the right just shows the area that was flown by SkyTem across our tenements. We haven't done the whole tenement package yet. We've just done the major northern and northeastern section, and we hope to get back here to the southern area later or sometime in 2022, either using SkyTem aerial survey, or for selected areas such as Matilda South, it might be a ground grade survey. But this AEM data, again, combined with the gravity, combined with the magnetics, is really assisting us in our targeting. So what does news flow look like for Dundas Minerals moving forward? Well, the most exciting thing, of course, is our drilling. The rigs will be mobilising towards the end of next week, and we'll be up and drilling in that first sort of 5 to 7 days of December, which is very exciting. We moved to Jumbuck first. Then drillers had a very busy year, so they're having a short Christmas break of up to a couple of weeks, and then across to Kokoda to drill that out. So in terms of exploration results from those programs, we'll have the assays back from the lab sort of the end of January, early February, and we'll release those to the market, obviously. Very exciting about this, and we can have the opportunity to go back and continue drilling at Kokoda and Jumbuck early in 2022 as well, as we have many more holes approved than we're going to plan in the initial program, in the anticipation that the results will come back well. Now, the next piece of work that will come out as well is the infill gravity. We haven't locked in the dates for those just yet, but we're working to get those dates locked in the next few days. We're very hopeful that we can conduct this work in December. If not, then we'll move it to the next available time, which would be after the Christmas New Year break in January. Modelling of targets will come from that work, and we're hopefully Steve Massey, our very talented geophysicist, will be able to model and have the close-based gravity work completed by February. And then by March, we should be in a position to announce our drilling programs, which could well include further drilling at Jumbuck and Kokoda. Very hopefully, it will include some drilling certainly at Matilda South. Now, the team, led by Mark Chadwick, our independent chairman. I won't talk too much about this, but myself and Tim, we're ex-Placidome, as is Steve Massey, our geophysicist, and Mike Northcote, very talented exploration manager, has worked globally and has been involved in several mineral discoveries around the world. Corporate overview, just quickly, we did list at 20 cents. We've got about 60 million shares on issue. Only around 36 million of those can be traded because the rest are locked up. To the right, number of shareholders, we've already reached nearly 600 shareholders, which is a fabulous achievement for a company that's only been listed for a matter of weeks. Most of the shares in this pie chart, directors and management, we're all heavily vested in the company, nearly 40%, and the balance being our retail shareholder base, which is fantastic. This is our competent person statement, which you can read, and disclaimers. Just as I close off this presentation, I thought I might share some photos from some field trips that we've done. Very hands-on board you have. We certainly get out and about and get our hands well and truly around the project. Our first visit in May was a reconnaissance visit. You can see that the vegetation on the left has been burned out. We camped on the edge of a salt lake for 3 or 4 days there. Very misty morning this particular morning. Some of the more vegetation on your right, down below the burnt mallee, and that the gear on our first trip. Took our trailer out in the car, and there's the chairman. We had quite a few fallen trees that we had to deal with on the road in. The Jumbuck reconnaissance visit in July, Mike and I were out there ground truthing the access to the Jumbuck prospect. We're fortunate that the tracks are still there and they're in pretty good condition, considering nobody's been traversing those for more than 10 years. We came across quite an interesting salt lake on the way, that one of the tracks that was put in by previous explorers went past there. Very basic camp on the left. I had my swag and Mike's tent, and we just set up a bit of cover there for rain. There was no rain, however, and that's just another view of the camp as well. October, our most recent visit, we were out there. Mike and myself, we were pegging the holes, and there's Mark on the right with the GPS. A little bit more, I guess, established camp now. We've got some cover, and that's the camp set up there. The traditional owner groups, we're out there having a look at where we were drilling and making sure that everything was clear from their perspective, and that's Mike just taking the people through our planned drilling program. So look, thank you very much for your interest in Dundas Minerals. We're very much looking forward to the months and weeks and then years ahead, exploring for nickel, for copper, for gold on our very attractive, very large 1,100 square kilometre tenement position. Thank you.